I would like to say a few words about the girl in red coat. Someone came to me with the radio, with this portable radio, and I heard first idea Sergio saying, "Magda, Steven wants you to stay with girl on the set." Now I can confess, right? I was so angry. I said, "What? There is 150 people on the set." I mean, I said to myself, 4 or 5 ADs who can only do this work, and I have my duties, and no one will do this for me. And I was so angry, but the girl was standing watching me. I don't know how to describe this. She had this kind of, childish trust, childish confidence that everything will be fine, that we're going to have good time together.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Kingdom of Dreams podcast, The Making of Stories. I'm your host, Jawad Mir. It's been a while since I've done an episode. It's been away. I'll tell you a lot about it in the next coming weeks and months. But to get to the episode, today is Remembrance Day, and coincidentally, I ended up speaking with a casting director, Magda. I'm not going to pronounce her last name because I'm not going to get it right. So Magda, she was a casting director on Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List. I've been trying to get to speak to someone on Schindler's List for a while, and finally had a pleasure of speaking to her. She was responsible as one of the few casting directors and had some great stories to tell from the set in Poland. Lovely lady, lovely conversation. I learned a lot about some new things about Schindler's List that, to my knowledge, weren't made public, at least for me. It could be for you too, especially stories about the girl in the red coat. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Magda for Schindler's List as a casting director. I'm so glad to have you on Kingdom of Dreams podcast to talk about your career, your films, including Schindler's List. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
Thank you for the invitation.
Amazing. I would love to know, Magda, how did your career start in casting? Before Schindler's List, what was that element that brought you into the film world, especially into casting?
Well, frankly speaking, Schindler's List was the first movie with casting credits for me. I
Really?
know, yeah, I know. It sounds exciting, but I had some experience. I work as an AD, and at that time in Poland, there were AD's duties to do also as a part of their duties to work on casting, especially, the smaller parts and the background. So casting as a individual separate work, or job, it came with international production to us. So yeah, I can say that I couldn't imagine better start, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it won, I think, 9 Academy Awards, and the film, obviously, it's such a great film still to this day. And to be able to work on your first film that is directed by none other than Steven Spielberg.
It
I
wasn't my
mean,
first film, actually. Yeah,
okay.
I worked about, I don't know, more or less 10 years, maybe 8 before. Yeah, but casting credits, definitely,
Ah, I
yes.
see, I see. But still, that's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
But how did you get into the film world? Like, what was it a movie that you saw by accident? If you can tell me that story, I'm always
Uh,
fascinated to know the journey.
well, it wasn't my merit, not my fault. I was a member of production team at that time, probably the best in Poland. So right after the film school, when I came to practice, I was production assistant for Michał Szczerbic. He was a great production manager. Today we would say line producer at least. And when the idea with Schindler's List came to Poland, the Polish co-producer Lev Rivin, he invited Michał to work on it, and Michał took his people with him. And so it wasn't that I was interviewed for this work. Like, for example, I don't know, maybe, for example, 10 years ago, Paweł Pawlikowski was working on his Cold War, and I went for interview, and I was chosen. I was very happy to be chosen for this movie, but Steven Spielberg didn't have the chance. Just he got me in the package.
That's great. That's fantastic. The book was published, I think, in 1982, and then Steven Spielberg bought the rights. I think it was the Sid Sheinberg at Universal who told him about the book, and he bought the rights back then, 11 years before the film came out. Do you remember well, I guess it's a two-part question. When you learned about the film, Schindler's List, what the story is, and also how much of your awareness on the Holocaust was at that point before the film came out or before you even read the script?
I was growing up in Poland, and the Second World War and everything. It
Yep.
was just a part of my childhood and my growing up. And I worked before on movies about this histories, and they were like, and the violin stopped playing. Where we were shooting inside museum concentration camp in Auschwitz, or another movie directed by Krzysztof Zanussi, and plenty of feature films done in Poland about the Second World War. So it wasn't nothing new, but the story about Oskar Schindler, it was something new to me. I didn't know this book before, so I got a screenplay, and it was really moving, but more than moving was a bit terrifying, the scale of this production. It was something which it didn't happen to me before and after Schindler's List. But somehow this is our environment. So of course I knew. Well, I was 15 when I was first time in museum in German concentration camp in Auschwitz, and we were three of us teenagers, the best of history in the high school, invited by survivors, by people who spent a few years in this camp. I mean, not all of them, but 3 or 4. So walking there, feeling this, ashes under the skin, it was, it was a really unusual experience, but it had happened to me very early.
Yeah, no, the reason I asked was I wasn't sure if you grew up in Poland, but because I was in Poland this spring. I went there for the first time for location scouting of a film that I'm working on, and you cannot not, it's impossible for you not to know about a Holocaust in if you're in Poland because I mean there's so many things, right? Like there's the Warsaw Uprising monuments, there's the ghettos, the Auschwitz camps, all that stuff. But I guess Schindler's List was one of those rare films because, to my knowledge, if I'm not mistaken, at least in Hollywood, there weren't any Holocaust movies per se before Schindler's List. There was a lot of World War II films that came out and they touched upon, what Holocaust was or freeing the Jews from the German shackles, but not at that scale. I don't think there was a film in Hollywood that was ever done. But in Poland, I'm sure there was. Am I correct to assume that?
Where there were a lot of, I would even say, masterpieces about the Second World War, but not precisely about the Holocaust. Yeah, it was just a part of Second World War experience, but I don't remember actually before Schindler's List. I mean, this is exceptional movie and it's shown this in the scale which I don't remember that any movie did.
Yeah. Were you physically on the set watching any of the filming ever at all during the production of the film?
I was on the set every day,
Normally, casting director. Oh, you were on the
but
set. Okay, because casting directors normally are not on the set.
yeah, but I wasn't only casting director. I was invited because lots of casting was done during the prep, but still producers were expecting lots of changes, and finally they were right. A lot of new script pages coming and new characters to be casted. So I stayed over the whole shooting period in Krakow, and yeah, I almost not like every day, but almost every day I was there, but not staying and watching, right? Not spending hours. I was just coming with some concrete issues and then going back to work.
Wow, that's incredible. And when you were, being on the set most of the time, just tell me your day-to-day duties. What were you casting, like the extras, the small part roles, or how just run through that process for me and any story that you may remember. I know it's been a long time. Any story that you may remember with the audience would really love to hear that.
Oh gosh, do you have 10 hours?
I have 20 hours for that film
No.
because I've been trying, I'll tell you, Magda, I've been trying to get somebody to talk to me about Schindler's List for the last 3 years, and I finally got you, so we have a lot of time.
Okay. Okay. You see, how to start? Because we worked on casting. I mean, because we just have to clarify, it wasn't only me, right? We worked, there was Judy Taylor in New York, there was Luki Englander with Fritz in Vienna, there were Israeli guys. So at the first stage, we were proposing, presenting every for every movie character actors from every country, I think. At least I did it in Poland. So there were tapes with reading prepared and sent to LA. And I know from Luki that she did exactly the same, like to create kind of database for director, so he could see who is possible and choose what's the best for the movie, right? So it was maybe 6, maybe 8 months before shooting started that I wasn't even at the time in Warsaw because I had to finish other project out of Warsaw. But I remember this in the evenings, hours and hours on phones to coordinate this, and the Polish actors. But at the early beginning, even one Polish actors, the great one, really was considered as Oscar Schindler. So it was really, really widely, really wide searching, and these materials were sent to LA, and then we had feedbacks, and I can tell you one story, which like one example, because I'm a huge fan of this guy, and I want this memory to live on. I was, basically casting is working on casting. You're looking for someone the most believable for the part, right? And I was also thinking about kind of authenticity, and we didn't have many Jews left in Poland. So I called, I did ask, and he wasn't very happy at the beginning, but he did come. I did ask Leopold Kozłowski. He was great composer and conductor and musician, and he had nothing common with acting before. And he came to read for one of investors, Jewish investors' part. There's the scene, especially at the beginning, and there's the scene at the beginning of the story that Oskar Schindler is dealing with Jewish investors. And I don't remember if exactly this part of dialogue is left in the movie, but there was something like Oskar Schindler said, "Okay, but there are different circumstances, and now you cannot expect that much money than you want, and you already did try to sell me something too expensive." And Leopold, like reading looks, it's just in the front of camera, and it was his answer. And Leopold did something like this. Okay, but it had happened only once, showing 3 fingers, right? And it was his idea, but we got the feedback immediately that he must be aboard. Like this kind of this flavor, this sense of Jewish sense of humor. Spielberg loved it immediately, and he was over 70 when we were shooting, and every time when I was on the set, and it wasn't easy. It was icy winter, heavy rain, hot spring. Always Leopold was in this main group, the future Schindler's family, and he didn't complain at all. I only had to promise him that the next movie will be very, very warm beach and just 2 of us. But he was great, and he was, actors and professionals, extras. They were so much engaged. I don't know if we could do this nowadays. I don't know, but it was just the basic casting, right? But then I think that I'm sure the director was looking also for this authenticity. That's why Luki in Vienna was casting mostly German characters. I concentrate on Polish Jews, and before the shooting started, we had more or less completed the main parts. But then was I thought, I was pretty naive, I must say, but I thought that it's okay. We are now will follow the shooting period and cast the smaller parts according to shooting schedule. But in parallel to shooting process, there were constant visits on the set. I don't know who organized this, but they kept showing up survivors, witnesses, people saying their own stories, and it was like parallel to the shooting. And then after a few days, I kept finding in my box in production office new script pages, and they were pieces of their biographies already written down to shoot them for our movie. And it was always like from Wednesday till Friday. So it was really crazy timing to do this. And, for me, because it wasn't such obvious that every Polish actor, especially at the time, could speak English. So I had a very limited time to think who somehow would be good for the part, who is available for day after tomorrow morning to shoot, who is available to come tonight to production office, to the hotel, so I can record his line, and during the lunch break to present to the director. But even I had the feeling sometimes that I'm in ER room. The most important is that all this made Steven Spielberg create this Shoah Foundation, and to all these experiences and stories to be memorized, right? And this is his great achievement. This is his great heritage. I didn't find half of this work in the movie eventually on the premiere. I couldn't, right? Because it would take 6 hours or 9 hours of the movie. But this foundation did great work.
Yeah. I mean, what's great about Schindler's List is aside from Liam Neeson, Ray Fiennes, Ben Kingsley, like those were the three main actors in the film. I mean, granted, they weren't that big at the time, except Ben Kingsley. But there were all these little stories, the rabbi, the girl in the red coat, the boy who gets shot, who was cleaning Ray Fiennes' the bathroom and he gets shot. I mean, there's so many other characters that I'm forgetting. I don't know their names, but this, if there was some other director, I think all those little stories would not have connected to the grand story. But just somehow, I mean, most of these characters never met, the main characters, but somehow it's still connected at a very deeper level. Like I've seen Schindler's List several times, and I saw it last year, and it's still, an incredible film. And what gets to me the most time, I remember when I first saw it, and even to this day, it's the way the killings were done, like how the bullet would hit the head and the head would go forward and it would go back and it would fall on the ground. Like I have never seen anybody even remotely try that, and it makes it like a piece of doll moving back and forth, right? It's just insane how that was executed.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I um, I want to. And I want to be very proud of this movie. But when you remind me this everything, um, it
It's
it
hard.
comes it
Yeah.
comes to me really. It was such a pressure that sometimes I think that in the middle of shooting that there were guys who were dreaming to be fired and just to have a chance to sleep 1 week or two longer because it was difficult. it's, this is a challenge when you, of course, huge American production and Steven Spielberg, top of the tops, and you don't want to disappoint anyone who relies on you. And he was so devoted to this story that we wanted to support him and follow him. But I've never worked that hard ever in my life. And I mean, I used to work hard. My parents, my grandma, they teach me that the respect to work is almost as much important like respect to the people. And the work, obviously, it has its inner value, but the most of all, this is a duty. But in this particular movie, like doing your best was far not enough. Like I remember that at some point I decided I wanted to make a deal with universe that okay, I will do much more than I can, but instead I need 5 miracles per day. And I believe it worked this way. Yeah. So for example, it's 8 p.m. at the evening and you get a call sheet and you see 10 Jews hanging on, but they were never in background, in breakdown. And how come I can have 10 Jews hanging on? They can be regular extras. They should be stats, and they don't have them. God, and it's tomorrow at 6 a.m. They should be on the set, right? Fortunately, there were 2 stunts coordinator, my blood brothers, Jacek and Krzysztof, and they were coming and saying, "Don't worry, don't be afraid. We will go to look for some students. We will prepare them. They will be fine." But saying about what's the most difficult in this kind of movie, it's not the work that you have to perform like special forces guys, right? Like just complete the task and survive. It's the most challenging are emotions that you cannot separate your emotions from your work. And you come to the set, you're in the middle of the hell, you like a sponge, you take everything on you, right? And even that that they will stop the take and go for coffee. These moments, yelling, screaming, crying, it stays with you. You can just finish work at 8 p.m. and say, okay, I go dance, right? I promised myself, I don't know how it will be in the future, but I've promised myself to stop. I worked on so many war movies, and even the last one, which was Jonathan Glazer, The Zone of Interest, and we were in Oświęcim, in Auschwitz, and the location was in this zone 0, like very, very, just behind the wall was the museum. And you talk with crew about something, but you see, you watch, you feel these chimneys, and I couldn't stand in this. It's it's somehow hard to understand because I know this series Steven Spielberg made about why we hate and everything, and I understand that scientists may be right, but like watching around ourselves, the Ukraine with is just behind the wall, or Israel, October 7th, or Gaza, or Sudan. It's you think that the it's something wrong with our DNA. That you cannot actually understand why people choosing to kill each other, and ages of our human history and the religions and the most cruel religions wars in the name of God. That was very spectacular killing. So when you work on a movie like this, it's this is, I would say, the most difficult part of work.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think you talked about, if you look at history, I mean, there's human beings are not human beings. We're originally like animals. We have animal instincts, and we end up, Steven Spielberg said this thing when Schindler's List premiered on NBC in 1994, I think it was. Yeah. It was the first time ever a movie was going to be shown on TV with no commercials. And Steven Spielberg came and did an introduction on NBC. I remember that. I remember watching that. I don't remember anything but one thing that he said. He said, "We are not born with hate, we acquire hate." And that is basically the genesis of my next film that I'm working on, like how hate comes inside you due to circumstances, not justifying the actions, but also then how people exploit that, in the name of religion, in the name of faith, in the name of belief. And sadly, it's going on and it continues to go on until we much end up eliminating our own selves. Like it's just there's no thing left such as empathy or such as listening to others or trying to understand others' point of view, as crazy as that may be. And I think I get that. Like, one of the atrocities that I'll add to that is I directed a film. I don't know if you know about the Uyghur Muslims in northwestern part of China. It's a similar thing. They've had concentration camps in the last 10 years. I made a whole film about it, about a protagonist trying to find her sister in search of my sister. And there's so many more examples, but media only shows us, whatever they want to show us. But yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, it's insane that how as a species we never learn. We just never learn.
Yeah, we want to fly to the moon, but we don't know how to respect life on Earth. And this is really stupid. Yeah, it's hard to it's really hard to understand what for. But I can, I work in Poland. This is really my privilege, I must say, that I am invited to every feature from over than 20 years, directed by Wojtek Smarzowski. He's a great director, and he doesn't want to lose time for unmeaningful stories. So it's always something for our history, about social life, and his last movie is how it's English title. It's probably Home Sweet Home. It's about domestic violence, and he put into dialogue the sentence, the words of Polish poet Edward Stachura. I can't change the world, but I can blow the horn. And I think that's why we filmmakers are we have a field to to work on it, right? And I mean, coming back to Schindler's List, it's a great example. And I remember on this opening, I was leaving a theater near old journalist, really moral, real moral authority in Poland. And I hear him saying, we have over 7,000 trees in Yad Vashem Gardens. But now, thanks to pop culture, the world will know that the German saved Jews. And he wasn't upset. He was just sad. He was in blue. And I think, with all my respect, I think he was wrong. It really doesn't matter who and how will communicate with the world, that will send a message that in every circumstance you can be a good man. And it's really great to be a part of this. But okay, coming back to stories, I would like to say a few words about the Girl in Red Coat, because I think I owe this to this girl. And okay, as you know, this is very remarkable piece of the movie. Oscar Schindler on the hill, on the horse, watching girl walking down the street, and finally she hides herself under the bed. And originally, in the first script, she survived. The idea that that close to the end of the story, we see her, pieces of her coat, body on this pile of bodies. It came later with script changes, constant script changes. It was constant. So we had a girl, Olivia, beautiful, and she was chosen when Steven Spielberg came already to Krakow, and he met her in person, and actually a few girls, but she was about 3 years old, maybe 3 a bit, and there was this scene under the bed already done, and we were preparing shooting this scene when Oscar Schindler is on the hill. And it was total deadline, because it was like half of district residents couldn't watch the TV for weeks. Now it's computer and blah blah blah, and everything is done. And at that time, all these antennas were taken off, so it was a real deadline to do this. And like everything in this movie, it was Thursday. We were planning for Saturday. One of producers came to me and said that we need another girl. So I said, okay, then we need her for Saturday. So you have, 2 days. So the reason was not that Olivia was bad girl, only too young to do this scene on the street, and it didn't work on the set. So they were, under huge pressure that we have to do this scene. So I did ask guys from casting extras. They helped me to find out some girls, and I came with them to the set as usual during lunch break, and it was something new for me because director wanted me to come with these 3 or 4 girls into the tent when 100 or people were, having lunch. They were hungry. There was a lot of noise, like, and later I understood that he wanted to choose the bravest one. But I didn't know that at that time. So we came. So okay, this one, and I knew that we just have to exchange the girl for the part. And it was Friday, so on Saturday morning I came to the set, and we found out that she would be a doubler. And her dad didn't want her to be a doubler. So it was pretty difficult morning. And I was just, ready to die 5 times at least until 8 o'clock. And finally everything was, resolved and all the problems. So I took the girl to the set just to leave her with IDs and go to the office with, long line things which should be prepared for tomorrow or for yesterday. And someone came to me with the radio, with this portable radio. And I've heard first ID, Sergio, saying, Magda, Steven wants you to stay with girl on the set. And I was so angry. Now I can confess, right? I was so angry. I said, what? There is 150 people on the set. I mean, I said to myself, and 4 or 5 IDs who can only do this work, and I have my duties, and no one will do this for me. And I was so angry, but the girl was standing watching me, and I don't know how to describe this. She had this kind of, childish trust, childish confidence that everything will be fine, that we're going to have good time together. and I said, okay. I realized that I have to stay on the set and protect her from this filmmaker's insanity. That no matter movie, scene, Spielberg, no, not a bit, just her. And we spent, I don't know, 6-7 hours together. We were walking, meeting everyone on this is 1 minute, maybe 1.5, yeah, when she's walking. Mm-hmm. But she said hi to everyone on the street, civilians, soldiers, these guys with guns, props guys, everyone. We were walking like, I don't know, 50, 60 times. So I held her hand, and I was just very nearby. Then when we had camera rehearsals and shooting, I was just 2 meters from her, step by step. Just make sure that she will be protected, that she will be looked after. And when I saw the movie on the premiere, and I saw this piece, and with this music, and I said, "Okay, Magda, shame to you. Why you were so angry? I mean, you should be grateful to be a tiny, even invisible, but just a tiny part of this scene." And I thought that, I don't know, Spielberg's experience, or his great intuition, or his third eye, I don't know. Somehow he knew that I will do exactly what he wanted for this girl to be on the screen. So self-convenience, right? So that she didn't look at anything. She just knew what she wanted to do, and she was, working to hide her. And I was really impressed by how she did it. And in the movie, it's mixed. This girl with Olivia, they are, you cannot recognize her, but I keep her in my heart, and I'm so grateful that she wanted to be with me that day. So this is my private story about the girl in red coat, and she was really the little teacher.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because that scene was probably like a minute and a half, like you said, or maybe even, around that
Maybe
time.
2 minutes and a half. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
And that, not only that, her hand with the red coat made to the poster with, Schindler
yeah,
kind of like holding
yeah,
her, but that became the catalyst in Oscar Schindler's character of shifting from this side
exactly.
to that side. And even though it lasts 2 minutes, if people talk, how people talk about Jurassic Park, they think of T-Rex. People talk about E.T., they think about E.T., or the flying bike on the moon. When people talk about Schindler's List, to me at least, it's that the first image that comes to my mind is that little girl in the red. That's
Yeah,
it. And
and
that's how powerful it was.
yeah, that's why I wanted to share this experience with you, because I told you honestly from the scratch how angry I was, and then how grateful I was. Yeah,
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. I'm assuming you met Spielberg, like sort of one-on-one. Was there ever anything like that?
during the shooting that I met.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I had my minutes. I had my minutes very often, because uh, I wouldn't call it meeting, right? But we, I saw him first time when he was, choosing the girl in red. Then every time uh, I, when I had to present my work, right, during the shooting, so we had the VCR player in actor's bus.
Mm,
So I always was told that you have 5 minutes, but then was four, but then three. That finally, just make sure you can do this in the 15 seconds. It was everything fast, fast. But he was always so focused on what he can see, uh, and actually, it was, always with group of people around him. But the decision were made like this. It was very impressive how fast he knew what he needs for the story, and who is the best. But fortunately, he it did in a situation that he said no one is good, because, as I told you, they should come to the set next day. So I I didn't have the any backsteps, but uh, I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know how, but yes, I could say this. I think. it looked like uh, he had this inner high emotional tension, which like couldn't didn't let him walk. Like he was always running, like always keen on not to miss anything, and you just wanted not to disappoint him.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I've seen a lot of his interviews about Schindler's List. I mean, I remember he said to Kathleen Kennedy because he was finishing Jurassic Park, and he wanted to shoot that year because of the winter, because of the snow in Warsaw and in Krakow and everywhere else, and then also the emotional element of him. I think, and I'm assuming this based on the interviews that I've heard of him and of other people, so please don't quote me on this. I think up until that point, he was not really proud to be who he was as a Jewish individual. And I think that film brought that out in him, and that all that stuff that he had sort of been holding back in. And his wife was a guiding light towards that. And I think that all came out in the way it came out, and plus working on Jurassic Park, like doing the dubbing with George Lucas, two of the most greatest and most different films came out in the same year. Nobody's ever done that before. It's insane how he did that.
I don't know
And
if I can if I can say anything about, his feelings about the truths and everything. I think that this is very private.
yeah,
But I admired his engagement into the story, and mm, that uh, he was a big name already in Hollywood, and but it didn't look like he cares, just keen on doing
the best.
absolutely the best. And if I was a sponge, can you imagine what kind of sponge he was? You know, and
Yeah,
we should mention Branko Lustig, talking about meetings, because Branko was one of producers who he had this tattoo from concentration camp on his arm, and I think it was his opus magnum, and he knew everything about this movie, each day, every hour. Uh, where is the problem? In which department? Or where will be problem? How to avoid this? How to resolve? And he was killing me softly twice a day. Like Kami, I mean, we had constant hotline, but
yeah.
he was on the other hand, he was very supportive, and he always gave me a hand if I needed. And um, yeah, talking about Branco, I can say that was great teacher, great teacher.
Mm. And I also think one of the things about Spielberg is like leading up to Schindler's List. I mean, he had done obviously Duel, Jaws, Close Encounters, the three Indiana Jones films, Empire of the Sun, Color Purple, which was nominated for so many Oscars. It never won a single one. And then he did, I think, Always and Hook. But even after that, if you see his filmography, films like Amistad, Saving Private Ryan, Munich. Munich has a special place in my heart because, which I'm sure you have seen with Eric Bana, because when it came out, when it was coming out, I was very, because like I became who I became because of Schindler's List and Jurassic Park, literally. Those two
Really?
films, yeah, those two films defined my life, who I am today. And so when Munich was coming out, I was very concerned being a Spielberg fan, that how is he going to handle the whole situation? And he just hit a home run with that, him and Tony Kushner. I mean, I think it's one of the most greatest films on that topic ever made. And if you watch that scene of Ali with Eric Bana's character on the staircase today, you would feel like you're watching something from yesterday. Like that's how freaking relevant it was. And that's the genius of him and his team.
Yeah, yeah. This is what. Uh, um, yeah, genius. I mean, what to say more?
Yeah, exactly. Um, I wanted to ask you, and I know the answer, but I'm always very keen on knowing people's point of view. Like, when the film came out and you saw it, I think it blew everybody's I shouldn't say the word expectation, but it blew everyone away. From its authenticity to its the feel of it, the weather that was shot in the film, the winter times, the black and white. Do you remember when the credits start rolling, or even during any of the moment in the film, the feelings that came up? Sometimes certain things are left. Like I remember Saving Private Ryan when I saw the opening sequence. I still remember what I felt when I was sitting in the movie theater with the bullets going by and people dying and everything. Do you remember anything like that?
No, no, I don't. I was. I remember Girl in Red. Yeah, and my experience. I remember. I remember. I was so surprised that. I mean, logically, I knew that it wasn't possible, but I was so surprised. Like only a little. I mean, 1/3 of this footage was left. The rest was in cutting room, right? And so but maybe because of music, which is unbelievably beautiful.
Yeah, that's
And then this violins, and maybe because of this. I mean, I couldn't, but I couldn't watch without thinking what is left, what's not, and where is this piece and this story, like uh, but mm, leaving did I mention to you about this art journalist and saying about the survivors, the Yad Vashem?
no.
It's um, I was leaving the cinema when this guy said um, about this Yad Vashem trees, and I told you that
Oh, on the phone you did, but let's
yeah,
let's yeah, let's do it
yes,
on the podcast.
yes.
Yes.
Leaving, I was thinking about how how or anyhow I could survive this. How I would behave. I think that this is mm, that this is the main question when you're leaving this theater. You are taught to distinguish God, what's good from evil, but what was really your behavior, your statement, your position when you were in such a circumstances.
Yeah, it's true. And I think
Mm.
for me, there's a scene of Ray Fiennes' character. Sorry, I'm really horrible with character names, but when
I'm on
he's,
that.
yes, when Oscar Schindler lectures him about the definition of power, power is having the ability to do whatever you can, but you choose not to do it. And then following that, there's that scene of the boy washing the bathtub in the washroom, and he says, "I pardon you." And is that his inner conflict in him? He's trying to be good, you know, he's
Yeah,
trying to do something good, but he just
but
can't.
he's not able. Yeah,
Yeah, because evil will
she's
take
not
over.
a,
And I think that's what makes Schindler's List so great, that antagonists were shown had a little bit of human moments, which I think is very, very important. Instead of, even some of the greatest films that you can see, like The Godfather, whenever you show an antagonist with some sort of a human emotion, audience resonates with that instead of just showing them completely ballistically crazy and that's it, just one dimensional. The three-dimensional characters in that film were phenomenal.
I don't know a lot about English language, but sometimes I think that the motion picture it's from emotion picture. That
That's right. You're right. You're
yeah,
right.
that it's if you don't have emotions, if you don't this amazing feeling that you're sitting and the lights go out and the curtain opens and you are invited to cross the screen and be inside the story and yell and cry, then what's the cinema for? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you an interesting story. I mean, this has nothing to do with the film, but I figured this out a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's probably already public knowledge. So 1982 is when Schindler's List was published. Okay, that's when
Yeah, as
Spielberg
a
got,
book.
yeah, the book
Yeah.
as a book. Spielberg bought the rights in 1982. 1982, E.T. came out. 1982, Gandhi came out. I don't know if
Oh,
you've seen that film,
yeah.
which was directed by Richard Attenborough and it starred Ben Kingsley. 11 years later, Jurassic Park came out, which starred Richard Attenborough. Schindler's List came out, which starred Ben Kingsley. And both films did so well. I mean, it's just amazing how those things sort of connect in terms of character actors and human beings. And I think it was meant to be that way. And yeah, I can go on about Schindler's List on and on. I think it's one of the most amazing pieces of cinema ever made, and probably will live to be like that for a long, long time, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Let's let's say
kudos,
that. Let's people watch it. I mean, let let's promote even, it doesn't need promotion, but let's promote uh, as widely as we can just to avoid this for the future or for
yeah,
the present.
yeah, I agree. I agree. As Spielberg said, we're not born with hate, we acquire hate. And I think that's something that we need to figure out how to fix and how to reverse. Because
Education, education, education. I mean, this is the only way. Just I don't. I mean, I do believe that raising kids, that teaching them, uh, this is our duty. Educate.
yeah. I mean, nowadays the whole thing with education is everybody has their own agendas too. It wasn't like that 25 years ago, when I was growing up. But I mean, education is certainly part of it for sure. But I think if you look at films like Lawrence of Arabia, Dances with Wolves, Last Samurai, until you, if you don't like a certain group of people for whatever reason, or if you don't like a friend, until you take yourself and put yourself in that world, which is education, you will not understand what that world is. You will learn, like, okay, what is that world? So I think it's important to put yourself in a place with people you disagree with so you can understand their point of view, even if it's the craziest point of view. That's what I believe.
So you have your favorite movies. I can hear. Yeah, I have my favorite too. I must
Please
say.
do
And
share.
well, I mean, of course, there is now it's 50 years from premiere. One flew
Over the
up,
Cuckoo's Nest,
exactly.
Milos Forman, Jack Nicholson, yes.
Yes, the Milos form. It's such a life's lesson. But I don't know if you had a chance to watch. I don't know the English title, but it should be somehow um, Orchestra Rehearsal by Federico Federini.
No, I have not. I have
Yeah,
not.
yeah, I know because it's not very well known, his movie, but this is great metaphor and and very touching on the same time. So this is what you can look for. And
What is it called? Orchestra?
orchestra rehearsals, like rehearsal of
Oh,
orchestra
okay, okay.
rehearsal.
Okay.
Yeah, it was even originally made for television, I think. But it's just I love this piece.
I'll take a look.
Yeah, please do. I mean, the list is long, but
Yeah,
yeah,
there's some great films, ever since a motion picture started.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, thank you so much. How do I pronounce your last name?
Schwarzbart.
Schwartzbart.
Schwarz.
Schwartz.
Schwarz. Schwarz.
Yeah.
Schwarz.
Sch
Schwarzbart. But
Schwarzbart.
you can really say what you want. It will be fine.
No, 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 no. I try to get the name right. I'll try
Yeah.
my best to get the name right. But yeah, no, thank you so much for taking the time
Pleasure is mine.
and sharing something very personal and deep with the audience. I really want to thank you for talking about Schindler's List because I've been dying to talk about Schindler's List to somebody who was on the film. So thank you.
Thank you. Take care of you.